Hello guys, we're going to review the Panzerfähre today. This is kit number 6669. I'm not going to really try to pronounce this. I understand what these words mean, but my German is not that good. Essentially, Panzerfähre, so ferry deck with armored Landwasserschlepper is an easy one to say. So if there's any confusion about that, land, water, like tower, or carrier, polar, schlepper. I'm actually really familiar with that word. So, Landwasserschlepper. There's two types that I know of. The early one that looks more like a tugboat, and then these two, which are separate prototypes of Panzer IVs. I have both of them. This is just one. There was like a kit that came with both and the bridge. This one that comes with, I think, this guy and the bridge. And then I have one over there that comes with just this guy. It's pretty simple, so this shouldn't take terribly long. Let's see. Marking options are few. It's gray. I'm okay with that. Renders on the back show very little, but stuff that I'm not familiar with at all. It's funny, when I get into something like a Tiger, I can look at this stuff and be like, oh yeah, that is nice. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at here. But feel free to look at it if you want to pause it or something. And there's the two together. So this kit has, I think this one, the one with, no, this, whatever. It's got one of these two, and the bridge. Well, yeah, clearly this one, because that piece is over here. But there's not much to it. If you look, it's a Panzer IV with no upper hull whatsoever. So it's the running gear and the tracks of a Panzer IV, and this tiny flat deck, or this simple, not tiny, but actually quite large, flat with some, I assume, exhausts and like a little cabin, like you're on a pontoon boat, and this big bridge. So it's pretty simple. So let's do instructions. So right away you can see that it's not a whole lot. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only like 6 different sprue number callouts. What? Okay, it opens weird. So right off the bat, same as always, the generic Panzer IV suspension. That same the 2 separate A sprues that come with everything. And then where it gets different is you're attaching it to this monster hull here. So the same, it looks like the same bogie connectors, same final drives, same bogie, same wheels. Unfortunately, not the ones with separate rubber tires, which I like a lot. That's as big as the instructions get, by the way, 3 pages. That's adorable. Yep, and it's only 12 steps as compared to your normal like 20 something. So up here, you've already got this sort of weird, there's lots of rivets here, so it's obviously riveted, not welded. This part comes protected. There's this tiny little rudder thing. It actually comes with like a piece of foam over it in the box. I already have everything out of the bag, so you won't see that. But here we're doing the propeller, and some tiny bits I have no idea what are. And I assume this is the deck. Yeah, this stuff is so beyond what I'm used to looking at. Tiny bits. These kind of awesome, huge, complicated exhausts right here. And then the only bit that even resembles a tank to me is this sort of raised hull bit with some hatches. It's a no-tech light. Yeah, I apologize for not having a whole lot of thoughts, but I don't build a lot of Panzer IV boats, so... Sorry. Alright, so then you've got these little bits over here, so now you're putting down the sub-assemblies of this raised driver's area, whatever that thing is, these two guys, and the big, I think these are exhausts, and then I wouldn't know what these really are. I could be wrong. And here, like this is all the sub-assembly of what's going on here, I guess. They want you to drill some holes out. Alright, so here, this is interesting to me because you're putting string, and it's actually supposed to be string, unlike when they normally, in a Tamiya kit, give you string for chain. This actually needs to be rope, so it's okay for it to be string. But apparently there's some PE that goes on there to connect them to each... Oh god, that sounds horrible. In my head, it was just, well, I'm going to string a string around here. But no, if you look here, you're attaching the ends of this string to little PE connectors to attach them to a pole. That sounds awful. There's a chain here. I don't know if that's done as an actual chain or just a PE piece that looks like chain. Unsure. And you've got magic tracks, which is awesome. And there's a little bit here. Because this is steps 11, 10, 11, and 12 is like the bridge. And if you look, the bridge is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. Plus these little brackets, which is incredibly simple, but I guess how do you make it more complicated? There's just not much to it. But then you've got a piece here, see that? Yeah, that connects from the front of the boat. What do they call that? The bow? Yeah, that's what they call it. I'm not a boat guy. To the bridge itself, if you build them both, which I will be doing if I ever get to this. This is another one of those kits that's kind of hiding in a stash of things that aren't terribly interesting to me, but when I review them, I tend to get more interested in them. That's it. And then they're like, here's how to paint it. Gray and wood. Very, very simple. Balkenkreuz up here. Is there anything else on there? Not really. Alright, well, that's the instructions for this guy. So the Dragon card, one of the later thin ones. Alright, so here you've got Panzer 4 tracks. Let's look. Our hollow guide horn, they look like 40 and not 38. I'd have to compare. I'm not an expert on Panzer 4 tracks, but there's thinner and wider ones. Early war had 38 centimeter, I want to say, and then late had 40. I don't know. They don't have any cleats or anything on them. But they are hollow guide horn. Here's your PE, which I assume is just the connectors for that rope. Look at that nonsense. That's crazy. These are tiny. I don't do well with tiny. That's going to suck. Then you've got rope or string, and then just a couple of Balkenkreuz. 3 by the look of it. And then like the number 2. You can't probably pick that up because it's white on light blue, but it's there. Clear parts are still in the bag, my apologies, but they are a couple of lights. 1, 2, 3, big one, 2 small ones. I think these are like front headlights. And then these are probably vision ports. So, the basics. Yes, this sprue is still in there. I think people get a little fed up with it. Yeah. Interesting, apparently there's a part broken off. So you got this guy and this. There should be another piece of sprocket here, and that apparently broke off. Or idler? What's supposed to be there? Something is supposed to be here. I will find out. But it's the default Panzer 4A sprue, so I'm not terribly worried about it. Just check for flash real quick. Everything still seems okay. I do hear a lot of whinging about this sprue, or these 2 sprues, but they're alright. Everything's fine in there, apart from the broken off piece, obviously. And this is same as it ever was in every Panzer IV, Jagdpanzer, Nashorn. It's been in everything. I have many of this. But it's not flashy, which you can expect to see eventually on a sprue that's been made this many times, but it looks okay. Not going to spend a whole lot of time. So, specific sprues for this guy. Here is a Panzerfähre sprue. These look like it looks kind of chain-ish if you're looking right here. But I'm not going to pretend to understand what I'm looking at. There's the hatches, they look fine. This looks like a standard Panzerfähre hatch, actually, with that little triangle bit. You get some really tiny bits there, holy cow. Lots of stuff I can't do justice because I can't describe it. Everything seems alright. I'm hoping, look at this guy. I don't know if I'm supposed to break this bit off, but it's a little flashy if I'm not. You see that? So I don't know if that's supposed to be hollow or not, but so there's two of these. Not entirely sure what everything is. There's also two of these guys. So these are, I'm assuming, the exhausts. Like just all different pieces for it. Everything is pretty simple. It's clean, but it's not terribly complex. I read some reviews that complained that this was sort of simple. The kit in general. These look like rear mud flaps. I don't even know if it has mud flaps. But there's two of these guys. There is one of these. So then here, again, you have this thing, or a thing that looks like that. This is an antenna. Recognize that. Standard 2-meter antenna. By the way, for anybody that watches this, one of my pet peeves is people who have antennas on Panzers that are too long. They're supposed to be 2 meters exactly. I think that's... I have a little mark on my mat that I can stretch through exactly the right length. But sometimes you see people with them where they're like this long, like from here to here. I'm like, nah. That's me. That might not bug other people. Maybe it's artistic flair. But they're supposed to be that long, exactly. These are the front headlights with conduit? Maybe? No? Can't tell. That's weird looking. But those definitely look like big boat lights to me. And some more itty bitty tiny goofy, can't get it in focus kind of parts that I will lose, maybe. Probably? I don't know. There's one of those. We call this guy. So, now that looks like another antenna. I don't think it is, though. I don't know. This kind of makes me think it's meant for, like, tying rope around or something. There's a propeller. That's pretty sweet. Just don't get to see many of those. Some sort of pipes. This big rivety thing. I know, that's a real good definition. Watched a review and a guy said, this big rivety thing. There's an anchor. Aha. Recognize what that is. That's cool. I used to know what that type of anchor was called. It's the kind that, I think when you drop them, they spread out like that. U-boats had them. I had the Model 1 and 3D ones, so I had to study them for a while. I'm not really sure what this guy is. Or these guys. And then this is your armored compartment. Pretty simple. Welds, not really seeing it. It looks pretty basic. Just a square. I don't know if they're supposed to be welded or not. I would assume they would be because it's not cast. It's clean, but it is simple. Alright, so there's that guy. Now the fun bits. There's the lower hull. Okay, so inside, nothing, obviously. But down here, it does have the same... I don't know if it's quite as detailed as your standard Panzerfähre hull. There's a little bit of a... I don't know what you call that thing. But here's the part that's covered by like foam in the box which apparently has gotten a little bit bumped on mine. Oops. And the final drives are, I think, might be glued on. I don't think those are supposed to be molded on. I think my girlfriend may have started this kit without talking to me. Yeah, that looks glued on. So my apologies, it's not a completely unbuilt, because these shouldn't be on here yet. I don't think. I'd have to check. I know she was threatening to build this. I don't know if she started to or not. I would explain why the piece was broken off that sprue, though. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing glue there. So I don't think these should be on. I can check the other hull, but... So very, very nice rivets all around. And it's a monster, this thing. Let me check something. Oh, here we go. Oops. This is a Dragon Panzer 4E. It's half painted, ignore that, but so there's the comparison in size between a standard Panzer 4 and this thing. Alright, so there's your lower hull. This is the upper deck, which is monstrous, which will fit right on there. I assume that way. Could be this way, don't know. But right there. So underneath, some ejector pin marks, sure, but you're never going to see that once it's glued together. Not sure if it's, I'm assuming it's steel decked, because you've got some rivets. They're a little light, but maybe they should be. It's not terribly smooth either. It looks nice. But again, kind of simple. And I've got two of these monsters, which is, I assume, the top and bottom and the side. I think that's how it went together. So this would be the top? I'm not going to claim that I know. But it's wood. So it's got some wood texture. Let's see if we can get that to pick up. It's nice, right? And then I believe this would be steel. So you've got rivets. And then either the top or the bottom. I don't know if there's a channel through the top for water or if it's some buoyancy related thing on the bottom. But again, wood. Looks good. It's a little faint, but I bet you it's to scale. Looks good though. And that is literally it. It's a tiny, tiny kit. So I will review at some point the other one of these, which is whichever other one. One of these other ones. I can't even tell them apart in this picture. One has 4 exhaust pipes, one has 2. So the one I just did, I believe, is this guy. And then the other one has, see, 2, 3, 4. Where this one only has 1, 2, and then these 2 guys here. So this is this one. I have this one over there. Maybe that second bit was an antenna. I'm not entirely sure, but there's that thing. There's where the big rivet circle-y thing goes, and there's where that thing is. I really have no idea about nautical stuff. I am not a ship expert. But that's this kit. If you were looking at it, hopefully that helps.